Okay, well, welcome everyone. We're going to start. I'm sure there will still be some individuals who join us. We are recording this in case some can't join us and want to learn about this. I'm Jen Miller. I'm the director of the League of Women Voters of Ohio. It's my profound honor to be with you. I first want to give a super big shout out to Cynthia Peoples and Munia and Alice, who put this event together just to make sure that we could tell you about this cool project. And I'm thrilled that I get to introduce you to a dear friend of the League, Brad Henry, as well. So let's go ahead and get to this first slide. Go ahead, there we go. So the sponsors of this project are the League of Women Voters, EduTechnologic, all of these different, WOSU, the Council for Social Studies, Ohio History Connection, iHeartRadio, Vote Responsibly, Can't Stop Columbus, Common Cause Ohio, just a wide range of sponsors. And we are just so thrilled to have everyone working together on this. So our objective, we recognize that a lot of our leagues go into high schools and colleges and maybe even middle schools and talk about civics. And we love that. You know, demystifying government has been part of our work for this rich 100 years that we've been in Ohio. And so we thought that because of COVID-19, because there are now a lot of homeschoolers, even without COVID-19, that we thought it made sense to really harness technology. We recognize, or we're hearing from a lot of our local leagues, that they weren't going to really be able to get into the high schools the way they had previously. So we pulled together a team to create a curriculum for all. What really focuses, our first priority are students who are voting age or near voting age. But what you're going to learn is that the framework is flexible enough that it could work for elementary level all the way through college, but it's to allow instructors to pick and choose the content that they like and the resources that they like and integrate it within the existing curriculum. I want to let you know that we had local league advisors, or actually participants in creating this online tool, who have been into the high schools for a long time. We had educators, college professors, social study experts, tech experts like my buddy Brad, and even a few high school students looked at this as well, just so that we could really make sure that it would meet the needs of teachers, that it was historically and accurate, that it was engaging and exciting for students. And so we're super thrilled about this effort. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, a lot of this is actually based on Know Your Ohio Government, which if you're not a league member, that might not be something you know, but leaguers should know that this is a publication that we started creating in 1964. In fact, our friends at the Ohio History Connection have those first early copies. Why? Because we knew that to be voters and advocates, we needed to understand how the Ohio government worked. And we knew also that the general public could use that. So this is a publication that we have created and updated for many years. Our latest publication just came out last year. By the way, we also have it in Spanish, not the curriculum, but the Know Your Ohio Government textbook in Spanish, if that's something you're interested in. But the curriculum is really based on Know Your Ohio Government and the chapters of Know Your Ohio Government, from, this is Ohio, all the way through, how to participate in elections and how political parties work. I want to give a big shout out to our local members. Many of our members of the league helped fundraise for Know Your Ohio Government. And we, at that time, had no idea that we would be turning it into this digital tool. But with that, I want to now introduce my friend, Brad Henry, who's based in German Village. He is a tech expert. He has worked in the educational field for a long time, and he really uses his superhero power, I think, is that he uses technology to do cool things, whether it's virtual dance parties or helping, working with League on getting this curriculum online. So Brad, take it away.
Thanks, Jen. And you're absolutely correct. So I'm a nerd and a geek, so I get the best of both worlds. Not too many people get to crow about that. But yeah, so one of the things that I identified when I came across this particular curriculum from the League of Women Voters was like, holy cow, this is some really rich, amazing content. And one of the things that I've been hearing a lot from teachers and their needs is the need for this type of particular curriculum. So when you look across the section of chapters that were available from the League of Women Voters, as well as the Ohio History Connection, it covered just about every major topic, especially as it applies to Ohio. Next slide. So as in regards to, this is Ohio. So within each one of the sections, it is divided into a topic. So the first thing you'll see is just a brief overview of what the actual content is within each one of the chapters. And if you look at the lesson files are the screenshots that you see below us where it says, this is Ohio, that is the actual chapter. The Famous Americans and the Civics Test, that would be the Democracy in Action, which would be the last quadrant there, which is an actual activity. And again, these were provided by multiple sources of teachers, which include, I think that actually came from Cuyahoga County, but the American Civics Test, which is actually pretty awesome. But clicking on the lesson file allows the teacher to download and localize that information so that you're not trying to copy and paste and having to recreate any of the content, since all of it's already been done for you. So the next slide. So and again, this is just another example, which include the election and political parties. Next slide. So the teacher resource guide. This one is pretty significant when you look at the teacher resources. So the way that this content was developed, and thank you to the courtesy of WOSU CET, which is a statewide organization, which is very much like the educational service centers throughout the state. We all work together to get this curriculum into their learning management system. So they have a brand new learning management system, which we'll see here at the very end. But and that was one of my areas of expertise. So when I actually taught them quite a bit about their system. But it's relatively easy to use, but it was meant for a blended model as well as in class or a self-taught individual. So the teacher resources provides everything that is contained within the actual learning management system itself, as well as supplemental activities. So it's meant to be very plug and play so that a teacher can customize the curriculum and content based upon your specific needs. And it's not just restricted to social studies and civics teachers. Any teacher within any curriculum, if we think about art, art teachers can also pull from this content and integrate this content within their class coursework. And also according to grade level, the content is fluid enough and the activities range in complexity that it is also modifiable. So even a kindergarten teacher could take some of this curriculum, especially the stuff about women's suffrage from the Ohio History Connection. It tends to be much more visual, as well as with representation, with content that students can search within their online database of images, content, resources, and videos. Next slide. So this was one of the coolest things that actually came out of the project when we were looking for ways to actually kind of build excitement. So we know that we had two issues that we had to contend with. One was understanding today's student. Gen Zers tend to be a lot different, and the way that they approach issues as well as learning. But then on the flip side, we also have to address the issue of the teacher's needs. And with COVID, it's set up for a complex scenario to which we tried to simplify and address all the issues. So I approached iHeartRadio, and we had some pretty interesting conversations about leveraging their podcasting channel. And some things that students had actually come back and told us specifically, they like things to be short, quick. They also like to be creative. There is also the need for them to be able to express themselves. So having access to the podcasting network, it kind of occurred that we could take any of the topics that are available within the learning management system. So the way that we set up this particular challenge is that a student will self-select from one of the 12 topics. And within one of the 12 topics, they will then they will then self-select into a subcategory, something that is very personal and meaningful to the individual. And again, since we are, and all the organizations that worked are nonpartisan, it really is up to the district and the student and the teachers as to how they decide to approach this. So we have a 5-minute limit on the podcast, but the only caveat is that it just has to correlate to the theme that they self-select into. So it could really be anything that is meaningful to the individual. So it could be about a social justice issue. It could be about diversity. It could actually be about the justice system, or even how justices are selected within the environment. So again, it's a teacher can opt in to allow students to be creative and just do this on their own, or they can actually build part of the assignment around the actual podcast and then have the student submit. Once the student has submitted, which there is the form on the podcast challenge, we'll show you that here in a minute. The selections will be determined by League of Women Voters. And the top 10 will be posted on the iHeartRadio podcast form, their online form. And out of that top 10, we'll select the top 3. And the top 3, there will be a top winner that will receive $500. And then the second and third place winners get $250 each. But those are selected out of the top 10 winners out of the categories. But everybody is a winner, but it's really meant to engage the individual. So we even reference, TikTok in here. And I know TikTok is kind of a dirty word when it comes to most educational entities, just because of some of the content, but it's meant to be a reference point. We're not advocating people use TikTok. What we're actually referencing is that it's an opportunity for students to create a video that is in that style and that theme. So it's not actually using that particular technology. So that is how this content was kind of created and purposed. So next slide. So if we want to open up the curriculum website, and I see Jen.
I think Mooney is working on it.
Yeah.
Takes a minute. In the meantime, let's see. Just so you know, you have, there we go, great. You, Alice is lovely. She's put down the podcast challenge, the curriculum website, and the teacher resource guide in the chat.
Yeah, so if you scroll down, if we look off to the right, there's just a brief introduction to kind of explain how the actual website works. If you can scroll up, sorry. Yeah, okay, stop right here. All right, there we go. So if we look at Know Your Government, you'll see a video where it says how long it takes to register to vote. That video is just a brief explanation about the site, just so you can go back and look in case if you have any questions. I believe it's about a 2-minute video. I tried to keep it very short and concise. There's also a mission statement. So if anybody within the district has any particular questions about who, what, why, where, we put together a mission statement, and we were very explicit to make sure that we do state that we are nonpartisan. Scroll down. And there's the objective. Again, so it's just to create free online sources for all Ohio students. And part of our goal and what we really hope is we really want to engage students back into civic engagement. I know a lot of that has been lost over the last 10 to 15 years as we got into this phase of kind of testing. Civics kind of took a back seat, and we're kind of hoping that to bring that more into the forefront and to get people excited and to actually learn more about government and what their role and how they can influence. But we also want to make sure that we're getting students registered as well as recruiting Board of Election workers. And students at the age of 17 can also get paid to work at Board of Elections this election as well. In fact, some interesting things, there are several restaurants that are taking the days off and paying their employees in addition to if they opt in to work at the Board of Elections. So it's pretty slick. If we scroll down a little bit further into the content, so there is the progress bar. So the progress bar is just a simple feature. If a teacher wanted to go through and have students review all of the content, it would just give you a percentage, but that's about the only purpose that it serves. But if we, let's scroll down and let's look at the Ohio Women Vote 100 Years of Change, which is topic 14. So again, so if you scroll down, everything pretty much looks the same. There's the brief explanation. It shows the next content, the lesson files, which are there to the right. If you select the first one, analyze the impact of the 19th century. If you click on it, you'll see that it will allow you to download the file. So then that will download the file locally. And again, anybody has access to this. You can go ahead and cancel that. Well, it looks like it's having some problems. So if you want to scroll down just a little bit lower, you can look at some of the content. Oh yeah, it looks like you got some latency issues. I'm loading the content, but that's all right. Then if we scroll back up to the top, scroll a little bit higher. If you select course in the upper left-hand quadrant under Teacher Campus, down below, see where it says course, 0%? Yep, there you go. Select that. Then by selecting that, we'll take you back to the home page. I know that's not one of the most clear things, but so that will take you back. And then if you scroll back down, you can self-select into any of those topics. But if we go down to the teacher resources, it's all the way at the bottom. Yep, there we go. So you number 15, teacher resources. So in here we have supplemental resources, which it explains everything about the actual site, as well as it also provides access to all of the additional files as well.
Yep, unfortunately, our internet's running a little slow, but we encourage you at home to go ahead and click through this at your leisure as well.
Yeah, and if you do have questions, there is a form that is located in here, and the questions will come through, and then myself and others will be monitoring and answering those questions. So why don't we open the floor up for questions?
Yep, this is a quick half an hour run through just because we know everyone's super busy. But so please go ahead and chat, or I don't know, is everyone muted? There's not too many of us, you know, we might be able to unmute people too, but for now, if you could just put your questions in chat. Brad, I guess I'll start with, there are schools who are already teachers in schools that are starting to use this?
Correct. There's a couple of districts up in Cleveland, as well as the Olentangy School District and Cincinnati have started adopting some of this curriculum.
Good. Do we know how many podcasts? We probably haven't gotten too many podcast submissions yet, I'm assuming.
Not yet. We haven't pushed the podcast as hard yet. We've been focusing on the voter registration. In fact, there is an entire section about voter registration. In fact, we worked with Jen's intern to tweak that particular presentation to make it look a little more hip and cool for somebody their age. So we tended to focus more on the graphical aspect and apply the content that they conveyed to us that was most meaningful.
That's great. So yes, Connie Rubin has a great question. And yes, the reason why we're doing this program is because we're trying to be of assistance to local leagues as well as schools across the state. And so please encourage your local leagues to, or you know, if you're not with a local league, just the schools that you interact with, to use this curriculum. How is the curriculum being publicized to the districts? I know we've sent it out to various listservs, Brad.
Yeah, so this includes the Federated Teachers Union. I know they're pushing it. The Ohio, oh, I always get this
Education
messed up. It's the social,
Association.
yeah, the Ohio Social Studies Teacher, the official organization in the state. They've been pushing it, as well as the Ohio Education Association. And then iHeartRadio is also plugging this throughout each one of their channels around the state. So we really have had a great opportunity to plug this, as well as the educational service centers and CET, PBS have been pushing this as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. So I would say if you have a relation, you don't have to have a kid in your school, but yeah, you can make sure that schools know about this opportunity. We will continue to be promoting this in various ways. If there's a listserv that you're on, or there's programs that you're hearing about, you know, a lot of this is word of mouth in addition to, you know, various ways that we're going to promote. How closely aligned is this curriculum with Ohio's? This is part of the reason why we had educators, you know, we had the head of the Council on Social Studies, we had other educators, we had college professors who teach educators, all to make sure that these tools were really helpful, including being aligned with the curriculum. Do you want to talk about that for a minute, Brad?
Yeah, within each one of the state standard and the strands, as I've learned, there's a lot of ways to be creative with the strands, unbeknownst to me, but I got quite the education because I used to work on a lot of the strands. But yeah, so any of the curriculum, the lesson plans themselves that has been aligned to the curriculum, you'll actually see that located within the documentation so that you'll know exactly what strand that has been aligned to. And again, you'll see some of it applies to the arts as well as some of the history and civics. So some of it can be a little bit broad, some of it is kind of narrow, but most, if not all of the activities have been aligned to the strands.
Great. Any other questions?
Let's see how we're communicating.
We are going to get all of these materials up on our website so that as well. So we think it's great to have it on WOSU. We're going to get it up on ours too. And we really want this to be, you know, we hope this will be used before the election, but also all year long and potentially even beyond. Keep in mind, as we said, this is really designed for middle school and high school, which is why, in addition, we had everything reviewed by our 2 high school interns who are so special and wonderful, and they wanted to join us, but they are in class right now. They wanted me to write a note to let them skip class, and I said no, even though I love having them all the time, but we made sure that it would work on all ends for the different populaces. But we're going to get this up on our website as well, so that, and we will send out an email with all those links that you could actually make it easier. You know, you could just forward that to teachers or school districts themselves. There is no cost to this curriculum whatsoever.
Yeah, and then because it was purposely meant to be free. And we were very purposeful about that. We also have a lot of big ideas that did not get integrated just because of the lack of time. So where there has been some discussion about after this election, probably more likely in January, looking at how we can extend and make this more robust in the future. But given the time constraints, COVID and everything else, everybody's pretty strapped. So this is a golden opportunity to really, you know, take this information and make it meaningful and, you know, use it within your own curriculum.
And one last very good question. So we talked about how it is pretty flexible. It also could be flexible if, not just in terms of age group, or maybe looking at a various issue like justices or environmental policy. But also, you could look at local issues. So there are a lot of know your local government. And so if those are things you have, you could provide those to your school district as well. Was inclusion of language arts addressed? Yes. So that's that point about the various standards and getting very creative and flexible so that teachers can check many boxes as they're teaching civics. And with that, I think if there's one more question, or do you have one final word, Brad?
Yeah, just one thing. If somebody does have a question about the particular strands, there is some information available through Ohio State on ways to research aligning different strands, or you can send a question and then I can pop that over to my expert that can assist them. And so if there are questions, by all means, please, let us know. And feedback is always welcome.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Brad, and thank you, Pam Wilson from our board. My big sister, who's a teacher and actually teaches college at Bowling Green for future teachers, our interns. Just so many people worked on this at a time when we have so many other things to do, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm really honored to be part of such a vibrant organization where we can pull off such cool partnerships. So thank you, Brad. And please spread the word. You'll get an email with all the links and the video that will make it hopefully easier for you to reach out to educators in your lives and communities. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jen and the league. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.